So buying a new gaming monitor can be one of the most exciting but also confusing times. With so many different technologies and words being used in product descriptions of monitors, it can get a little bit confusing to know what the actual features of the monitor are and which ones are relevant to you. So in our new series of videos, we're going to be looking at comparisons between different types of gaming monitors. But before we do that, I just wanted to go through a list of some of the key words that are used within these product descriptions and basically give you guys an understanding of what each of the words means. And then that should hopefully enable you to make the right buying decision when you go to buy your next gaming monitor. So at the end of this video, I'm also going to go over some of the key issues that come up with gaming monitors. Basically, these will be things that you'll see sort of in product reviews that people have done of the monitor, and it's just to give you an understanding of what they actually mean, so that you know, if you're looking at sort of a budget monitor and someone said there's a problem with ghosting or screen tearing, you guys are going to know what that means. But as well as that, obviously I'm not going to cover everything in the whole spectrum of monitors, so if there's specific topics that you want to see me talk about, then let us know in the comments below and I'll get a video uploaded for that as well. So the first topic we're going to talk about is resolution. So monitor resolution is basically the number of vertical and horizontal pixels that are within the panel. So standard high definition monitors have a resolution of 1920 by 1080, also known as 1080p. And when you go above that, you can go up to 1440p, which is 2560 by 1440 pixels, or you can go up to 4K. The best resolution for you is going to be mostly down to the type of games you play, but also the hardware that you have in your PC or laptop. When you go up to the higher resolutions like 4K, it becomes much more demanding on your system, especially when playing intense games. So linked in with resolution is also monitor size. So monitors are available in various different sizes, and there's certain sizes that work best with certain resolutions. So for example, with 24 inch, ideally you want to be looking at a 1080p resolution. 27 inch, you want to be looking at 1440p, and then 4K you can kind of go between 27 inch, 32 inch, and above, depending on the type of setup that you're making. The one thing to watch out for with resolution and size is that you don't get a big monitor with a too low a resolution. So for example, 27 inch monitor with a 1080p resolution, while for some people this will be fine if you're sitting a bit further back from the screen, if you're sitting closer to the screen, you may sort of notice that things are a little bit blurred and not quite as crisp as they would be if you had a higher resolution. Again, it's kind of personal preference. It does depend a bit on what kind of games you're playing and what you like, what sort of priorities you have with your monitor. But it's just something to bear in mind if you see like a really big monitor that's really cheap. It's likely because it's got a lower resolution and therefore might not give you the best experience. So the next thing I want to look at is refresh rates. Now refresh rates generally start at about 60 Hz with most standard monitors. And what 60 Hz means is that every second your monitor is refreshing the image 60 times. In a lot of gaming monitors, you'll see them go up to 75 Hz, 144 Hz, and even now up to 360 Hz. So generally a higher refresh rate will make for a lot smoother experience, and you can notice this even just on your desktop when moving the cursor around. If you switch to 144 Hz on a monitor, you'll see the cursor is a lot smoother and there's less trailing behind it of the cursor image moving. That's replicated in games as well, so when you're playing a game and your system is able to sort of max out the FPS, especially in older games like CSGO, you can kind of run those at 144 FPS quite easily, and they will look much more smoother, and it's kind of more important if you're into competitive gaming. With higher refresh rate monitors, you often do sacrifice some visual quality and things like viewing angles. This sort of technology is mostly, or the higher refresh rate technology is mostly only done with TN panels at the moment, which can have issues with viewing angles and color accuracy. So again, it's going to come down to your personal preference, and this is going to be one of the topics that we cover in more detail in one of our monitor comparison videos. So the next topic is response time, and what response time basically is the amount of time it takes for the pixels to change from one color to another. So these will typically be between 0.5 milliseconds to around 5 milliseconds for sort of IPS gaming panels. The TN monitors are the ones that are going to be able to get down to 0.5 milliseconds. So if you're into competitive gaming, you're going to be wanting to look for low response time, pretty much 1 millisecond and below. For casual gaming, anything up to 5 milliseconds would be fine, and that would just help you avoid any issues with motion blur and that kind of thing. So panel technologies are one of the other common features you will see on product listings. The most common panel types for gaming monitors are TN, IPS and VA. TN panels tend to be the fastest, but they do lack in color accuracy and viewing angles. VA is kind of like a best of both, where you get fairly fast refresh rates. You don't get the best response time, but you get really good contrast and not so bad colors. You also see VA panels in a lot of curved monitors, which is another thing which is quite nice to have if you're looking for an immersive experience. And then you have IPS monitors, which offer the best color accuracy and viewing angles. The response times on these are not too bad. They're normally around sort of 5 milliseconds, and the refresh rates have started to go up higher with sort of new technologies being introduced this year. So for one, we're starting to see 24.5, 25, 27 inch 1080p IPS monitors with 144 Hz refresh rate and a 1 millisecond response time, which for a lot of people is kind of like the perfect spec for a monitor. So it's definitely a technology that is worth looking into, and if you're looking for that sort of ultimate all-round monitor and you're prepared to pay a bit more of a premium, then they're definitely worth looking at. So those are some of the key sort of features and technologies that you'll see within monitors. Now, the next thing we want to do is just look at some of the key issues that might come up, and I'll talk about some extra hardware and stuff within this section as well. The first thing you might see in reviews is screen tearing. So screen tearing is where the image in the game will kind of distort if game is running at a higher refresh rate than what your monitor supports. So there are two types of built-in monitor hardware that are designed to combat this, and these are known as FreeSync and G-Sync. So G-Sync is an NVIDIA technology, and basically they both do the same thing, but they both work with different hardware. And what it does is it basically will change the monitor's refresh rate based on the FPS that your game can achieve on your PC. So as the refresh rate is as the FPS in game is going up and down, your monitor is matching that, and it's basically removing any screen tear and kind of keeping the experience a bit more fluid even when you drop to lower frame rates. With FreeSync, you are restricted to AMD GPUs, but there is kind of a crossover happening now. With some FreeSync monitors, you can actually enable G-Sync. And there's a list on the NVIDIA website, I believe, where you can see which monitors are compatible with G-Sync. So it's worth looking into. It's something that, you know, depending on what you're using your PC for, you may find really good, or you may not bother with it. I tend to find I will run my monitor at 144 Hz, and then depending on the game I'm playing, I will just limit the frame rate so that it doesn't go above that, but also it runs stable enough for me to stream and all sorts of other stuff. So ghosting is another issue that you may see come up, and ghosting is basically where a ghost of the image that you're seeing will kind of stay on the screen as you're moving a character or as something's moving in the game. Basically this happens when your response time can't keep up with the refresh rate that your game's running at. So the image will kind of trail. It's mostly seen on sort of cheaper monitors where corners have been maybe cut a little bit and it's not really been properly optimized for gaming. So it's just something to keep an eye out for in reviews, especially if you're looking at cheaper monitors. If you're playing kind of slower paced games, it's not going to matter so much, but if you're playing fast paced stuff like CSGO, Apex Legends, anything like really competitive, then you're going to want to try and avoid any monitors that have sort of ghosting reported. So the final one is Backlight Bleed, and this can come up with IPS and VA monitors most commonly. What this is where some of the backlight basically leaks through the panel, and in dark scenes in games you'll see there's like a white blotch in the corner of your screens. It's almost pot luck really as to whether you get a panel with bad viewing angles. I've had monitors in the past where mine's been absolutely fine and someone online has had an absolute nightmare and they've got the wrong or they've got a dodgy sort of panel. So it's something that's worth testing when you first buy an IPS or a VA panel, especially the curved ones, just to make sure that in the dark scenes, you know, it's not going to be noticeable and annoying. And if it is, obviously get in contact with the manufacturer and find a resolution for it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's just a breakdown of some of the key sort of words that come up in product descriptions for monitors, and then some of the issues to look out for when looking at reviews and that kind of thing. If there's anything that I've missed, then feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer questions there, or if there's something significant that you guys want me to look at, then I'd be happy to do a video on that as well. As I said at the start of the video, we've got some new videos coming out over the next few months, which are going to be comparisons of key sort of monitor technologies. So we're going to be looking at panel types, so TN, IPS and VA. We're going to look at resolution, so 1080p, 1440p and 4K. And then we're also going to look at refresh rates, so 60 Hz, 144 Hz and above. But other than that, thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you found it helpful, then remember to leave a like. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us either on Twitter or in the comments below. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video.